and also my fellow colleagues that are here with us, as well as members of the press. Today, the Federal Executive Council, led by our chairman, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we approved a 7-year moratorium on establishment of new federal tertiary educational institutions all across the country. Tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. 7-year moratorium on establishment of any of these institutions. And let me give the members of the press and the entire country the full perspective and the context behind this memo going to the Federal Executive Council. Today, in our country, access to tertiary education is no longer an issue. What we have now is duplication of new federal tertiary institutions. And what we're seeing is significant reduction in the carrying capacity of each of these institutions, tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Now, we're witnessing significant deterioration of infrastructures, both physical and manpower, at these federal tertiary institutions. So, and if we do not act decisively, what we'll have significant reduction in the quality of graduates coming out of these institutions, which will impact our global rating and the respect that the international community has for the graduates, for the people graduating from our universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. And if we don't act decisively as well, the unemployment rate will worsen because hundreds of thousands of these graduates will not have life skills at all, which will eventually lead to significant reduction in our human capital index. Let me give you some data as well. Today, we have 72 public federal universities and about 108 state universities, as well as 159 private universities. For polytechnics, we have 42 public polytechnics, federal polytechnics, 98 state polytechnics, and 91 private polytechnics. For colleges of education, we have 28 federal colleges of education, 68 state colleges of education, and 152 private colleges of education. In areas of allied institutions that we used to call monotechnics, we have 42 public allied institutions and 54 private, giving a total of 98. We have 31 public colleges of agric and 1 private. Combined between colleges of health sciences and nursing, we have 158 public and 120 private of such institutions, which gives a total of 278 colleges of health sciences and nursing. For innovation enterprise institutions, which are also degree awarding, we have 16 public and 165 private, giving a total of 181 of such institutions. Now, this is what we're seeing when I say access is no longer an issue. This 2025, 2026 academic session, about 2.1 million young Nigerians applied to JAM to go to any of our tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, college of agric, colleges of nursing and health sciences, as well as Innovation Enterprise Institute. The shocking data that we're seeing today, we have 199 universities that less than 99 candidates apply to seek to go to those universities. In fact, 0 candidates applied through JAM to go to 34 universities. Collectively, between 0 to 99, universities that had less than 100 candidates applying, 199. For polytechnics, we had 295 polytechnics, federal, state, and private, that had less than 99 people applying, choosing them as a choice for candidates to go there. For colleges of education, we had 219 colleges of education, federal, state, and private, that had less than 99 candidates choosing them via the JAM portal. In fact, 64 colleges of education had 0 candidates choosing them. So if we want to improve the quality of our tertiary institution and not be a laughing stock across the world, the FEC decision today is the most pragmatic and the best for our educational system, for our tertiary educational system, so that we can sustain the respect that the world has for us. We can now begin to mobilize resources to improve infrastructures, both manpower and physical infrastructures, in the current institutions that we have as a federal government. If we do this, we'll also expand, we'll be able to improve quality of education, and more importantly, increase the carrying capacities of these universities, of these called polytechnics and colleges of education. There's several of our universities in some northern region, and I will tell you that I can count 10 for you, but let me give you a specific example of one university in one of the regions of the country. They had less than 800 students, and they have staff strength of 1,200 staffs for 800 students. And this is the commonality in our federal institutions. Several federal universities, federal universities today, have less than 2,000 students. So it's just a waste of government resources. We have to decisively move to do what we've done today. And I want to thank our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who believes so much fervently and benevolently in education. And his mandate to us is that we should ensure that every single Nigerian get the highest quality of education that is comparable to anywhere in the world. And the President has met his mandate with commitment, significant political will and commitment in supporting the education sector. And I want to publicly thank Mr. President again for all his support to the education sector. So that's that on the approval of the 7-year moratorium for establishment of new federal tertiary institutions. Also today, the Federal Executive Council approved establishment of 9 private universities. And you would say, oh, the Minister of Education is talking with the two sides of his mouth. Yes, but let me clarify that for you. The reason for that, and that's why I chose to talk to that myself, several of the applications today, they've been in the docket of the National University Commission for over 6 years. So they're pre-existing applications, and they've gone through slow processes. We're reforming the way Nigeria University Commission works, because it's been so inefficient before. Universities will have their pre-application, they'll submit the application, and then they'll go first visitation and second visitation. We reform the guidelines, and we've put timelines. But several of these universities, and I'll give you the numbers, they've gone through several of these processes. They've made significant improvement. In fact, by the time myself and Honorable Minister of State for Education, Professor Suwaibat Saad Ahmad, assumed the responsibility of leading the Ministry of Education, there were about 551 applications for private universities waiting. Several of those applications have been there for over 5 years. So what we did quickly, we brought new guidelines, and we made almost 351 of such applications inactive. And as we did that, making them inactive, we created new guidelines regarding the timing and the requirement. So what we have today, we have about 79 active private universities application. After of the 79, we've just approved 9 today. But with the new stringent guidelines that we've created, we don't expect up to 20 of such applications to come for FEC approval. So when you see in the succeeding months that we come, I go to FEC to approve private universities. These were applications that had been there for years. They've invested money, they've built campuses, they've built structures, but what happened before was the inefficiencies of National University Commission in getting these universities visited and getting them approved. But we have to be kind and fair to these investors. They've spent billions of naira building these infrastructures. So it's not fair to penalize them because of inefficiencies of National University Commission. So that was why those applications are going to come, but it doesn't impact the FEC approval today of moratorium on new federal universities. And when we zoom at the Ministry of Education as well, we quickly put moratorium on establishment of private universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. I thank you for listening.